Gods be good. Sweet morning glory here on the Duna. Oh yes, this is exactly what we are after. The early wisps of steam. Oh, salvation. Now I would like you to cast your mind back to the 4th century AD, during the times of the ancient Romans who inhabited these lands and called them Pannonia. Ancient Pannonia, yes, yes. And this was the border, the Danube, the river, the great divider between Rome and the barbarians. Now our story today concerns the Emperor Valentinianus, aka Valentinian, aka Valentinian the Great. But was he really that great? You see, by that time, by the late 4th century, Pannonia, which at one point was one region and then had been split into two, Pannonia Inferior and Pannonia Superior, other way around, had by the late 4th century been reorganized into 4 provinces. And where we're standing right now, this was the border of Pannonia Valeria. Now Valentinianus and his brother Valens, I mean, come on, get a little bit more creative with the names here. They were the sons of a man named Gratius. And Gratius, he was a pretty famous military commander during like the 320s, the 330s, the 340s. And so these kids, Valentinianus and Valens, they were born into moderate wealth for the time. And Valentinianus, he's getting older, he's gaining battlefield experience, he's fighting and traveling with his pops down to North Africa against the Vandals, to Britain where there's constant invasions of Picts and Scotti and all the tribes up north of the Caledonian fortress border, Hadrian's Wall. And his father at this time falls out of favor with the emperor, and so now this rich kid Valentinianus, he's not doing so hot. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Good boy. You'll feel. Oh, sweet morning glory. Hello, Kaczak. Sziasztok mindenki. Hogy vagytok? Hogy vagytok? Oh yes. Nagyon szép. Gyönyörű, Kaczak. Look at these reggeli Kaczak. Float away, my friends. The trees of Leányfalu. Oh. Ho, ho, ho. I assume these were planted a bit after the times of the ancient Romans, but nonetheless they tell a story ancient in their own right. Look at the tendrils, look at the branches cascading into the heavens beyond. A morning walk in Leányfalu, a riverside stroll. My floating soul, it flies so high and builds me up back whole. Emperor Valentinianus, we're out here searching for your tail. Is it behind this tree? No, I cannot see. Now please do not fail. Emperor Valentinianus. This area right here, recently remodeled. A nice fountain. You gotta love the preservation of the historical integrity of this stone coot, this cycle coot. That's new. Strange building. A new buffet coffee spot. I think it's just called gazebo, right? Gazebo? Gazebo, yeah. Gazebo. Why? Because it's a gazebo. Now Valentinianus, he's a real hardcore Christian. This is a time when Christianity is beginning to actually become a practiced religion, but there's still a lot of vacillation. I mean, Julian the Apostate, for example, he severely punished and exiled Valentinianus because he was more of a pagan guy. That's why they called him the Apostate. But Valentinianus, he comes back in. There's a few little rinky-dink emperors like Jovian, and then Jovian dies, and they need a new emperor. And they decide on the military commander, Valentinianus. But they say, listen, Valentinianus, you've got to split up the empire. It's too big for one man. Because at this point, It wasn't like the good old days in Rome where one emperor ruled the roost. You usually had a Western emperor and an Eastern emperor. In fact, the Western Empire, it wasn't even ruled from the capital of Rome anymore. At least not during the years of Valentinianus's reign, but it was actually ruled from where modern day Milano, the city of fashion and culture, sits. So Valentinianus, he gets the west. Who's gonna get the east? Who's gonna get the east? Valentinianus, he says, let's keep it in the family, folks. I've got a younger brother named Valens. It's gonna make minting the coins easier. We only have to change a few letters around. And so Valens, his younger brother, takes over the eastern half of the kingdom. Here is the Fotsi Playa, the football pitch. Leányfalu SC, LSC. I'm technically on the team, but I have yet to go to a training. I shall go soon, fellas. The Gomba Buffet. This is a Leányfalu institution, the Gomba Buffet. Beautiful outdoor spot for a sip of lager, a frucho and unicum. Usually fresh pogacha every day, chiga, palacinta. Actually a decent cheeseburger, if I don't say so myself. Cheap, refreshing, gorgeous. You get a lot of riverside weekend bikers who stop in here for a sip. Wonderful atmosphere. Just like the rest of the town of Leányfalu. We can do some more local history in Leányfalu because this is where I live. And now that I know some of the stories and the local legends, I feel more confident showing off this gorgeous place I now call home. Here we have the Leányfalusi Polgar Mesteri Hivatal. This was actually where Alexa and I were legally married. We had the celebration later on, but the legal marriage was in this building. Here it is, up close. There's a look at our gorgeous town, Leányfalu, right by the river. And because the Danube, oh, all right, guy, I'm trying to make a movie here. Oh, what a conveniently located surprise. Aromai Kori Urtoroin. And who is this? Kurul Harmensas Hetven Ketu Tol Harmensas Haram Ig Kurul Epitete Elshu Valentinianus Chasar Elshu Valentinianus Chasar. So this is an ancient Roman fortress from the times of Emperor Valentinianus. All right, that guy's blowing the leaves like crazy over there. Ay, ay, ay. Well, I guess we'll wait for him to shut up. Let's go get a pogacha in the meantime. We'll come back and talk a little bit about this beautiful ruin. Here is the hustle and bustle of downtown Leányfalu. You've got the main square just over that away. New fish shop, haven't tried it yet. Haltanya. And there is the Haim Shutide, where we will get our morning pogacha. All right, we got our goods. We got our goods. Very decent hamburger gyro shop right there. Gyros Hambi Falo. If it was later in the day, I would pop in, but it's not. I think they open at 10. And this is probably the best bookshop in all of Hungary. Kunves Bolt Kavezo. Delightful atmosphere. Closed for now. Let's see if we can get a little look inside. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bookshop. Not the freshest whatsoever. How you doing? Nice to see you. Hey, good to see you too, buddy. Making a movie. Szent Imre Herceg útja. Szegény Szent Imre Herceg. He died young. King István's son. And unfortunately, he passed away in a hunting accident. Although, to be honest with you, usually in the medieval days when you hear hunting accident, That's a little bit of what we call a euphemism. A euphemism is when you say something, but it really means something else. For example, if a husband says to his wife, I'm stepping out for a bite to eat, he might be having an affair. Now, Szent Imre Herceg, I don't know what happened to him, but they say hunting accident. That could really mean anything. Perhaps something more embarrassing, perhaps something more sinister, or perhaps he just didn't know how to use a crossbow. There he is. Szent Imre Herceg. Jó fiú, Imre.
Imádom galambokat.
Okay, we made it back. The Roman ruins right next to a mole petrol station, Benzinkút. Probably the most majestically located Benzinkút in all of Hungary. Right next to Roman ruins. It was actually in 1963 during the oh, the guy is still going with the leaf blower. Of course, I picked the day, leaf blower day, to shoot my Valentinianus video. What are you gonna do? During the late 4th century, this area on the Danubian frontier was an incredibly important strategic military defense line. But at this time, end of the 4th century, not only was it incredibly important strategically, but it was also facing an onslaught of incursions from tribes on the other side of the Duna. Tribes such as the Macromani and the Alemanni and the Quadi, the Quads, and all of the German Swabi, as well as Persian, Iranian derivative tribes, such as the Yazigs and the Sarmatians. All of these inquests and incursions made this area so vital to the Roman defense. And things were beginning to pick up in intensity when Valentinianus took over. Actually, funnily enough, in the 60s when they built this gas station and found the Roman ruins, it was the second time that they uncovered these same ruins. They did it once before during World War I, and I guess they had bigger things to worry about. So it got piled up with land again, and then they uncovered it in the 60s, and they were like, huh, let's look into the history books. Has anyone found this before? Oh wait, yeah, some guy did. Was it him? No, it was not him. This is the 1956, the Második világháború and the első világháború memorial. Maybe one of these guys was the one that found it. No, I think his name was Benskur. Anyway, rest in peace, our fallen heroes. This was a pretty big fortress. I mean, you can imagine it rising up to about yay height. I think it could house like 20 men. And that was his strategy, build these fortresses. But one thing about his strategy and about the man Valentinianus is that he was a bit of an aggressive type. And so he didn't just settle for building the fortresses on his side of the Danube. He said, we're gonna build some fortresses over on the other side of the Danube. And just across the river there, that is where the Quadi, AKA the Quads, had their strongholds. And very quickly here, let's just come around the corner and see what we have. Oh, it's the Leányfalu Lán, our town beauty. She's so gyönyörű. This beautiful Lán. One day, I do intend for her to come to life, like a sort of modern day Pygmalion myth. You will, my good girl, you will come to life. Yes, yes, rest easy for now. You know, Emperor Valentinian, he's a busy guy. And so he leaves his subsidiaries, his underlings in charge. And one of them is a man named Marcellianus. And Marcellianus, he starts to cook up a whole kettle of trouble. You see, as we said, part of the strategy of Valentinian was to build fortresses not just on this side of the Danube, but on the other side as well. And the Quadi are getting pissed off, and they seek out Marcellianus, and they were like, let's chat about this, man. This is not cool. And Marcellianus, he says, Marcellianus, he says, all right, Quadi, we can chat. Send over some envoys. Send over 20 envoys. We'll have a little talk. I'll throw them a feast. There might be some circus acts. And so the Quadi, that's just what they do. They send over their envoys. Leányfalu, up into the hills, is filled with villas and mansions. Marcellianus, he's treating with the Quadi. And what does he do? He kills them all, slaughters the envoys. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-o. Big fan of this property here, big fan. I don't know if it's a private house or some sort of art studio, építész studio, but it's just pleasant. Super pleasant, super cozy, super nice. Itt out Dr. Vámosi Zoltán, 1868-tól 1953-ig. A gyógyszertan egyetemi tanara. Huh, good guy. So the Quadi, they join forces with the Sarmatians, a Persian tribe, and the real war begins between the Romans and the Quads. And now Valentinianus, he does get involved. And of course, thanks to the overwhelming might of the Romans, Valentinianus, he wins the war. He cements his border fortresses on the other side of the Danube. He suppresses the Quads. But there's still some stuff to talk about. Still some things to discuss. And Valentinianus, he wants peace. And he knows that the Quadi aren't going to be happy until they can meet and talk and hash it out. And Valentinianus, he's not quite so tricky as Marcellianus. He's like, okay, let's chat, let's discuss. And they chat and they discuss. And then the Quads start to ask for some concessions. They're like, look, we wanted to be peaceful before, but your guy, this Marcellianus character, he slaughtered like 30 of our envoys. 20, 30, who's counting? What's the difference? The point is that it was a massacre. You got to admit it, Valentinianus. Come on. Come on. But you see, Valentinianus, he doesn't quite agree with this whole idea of admitting fault whatsoever. Here's the other templum in our town, the Reformatus Templum. Very interesting structure. Borrows a lot of elements from the Eastern Hungarian and Erdély architecture, where, of course, the Calvinista have their strength. Now, Valentinianus, you see, he was a guy who believed in the old order of things. He was trying to restore a sense of Roman greatness, conservative values. Plus now he has this whole arrogant complex since he's such a devout Christian, and he feels like his word is superior and he cannot admit fault. But the problem is that these Quads, they're a proud people as well. And they feel seriously mistreated. I mean, their king, Galbinius, their king, he was killed. Galbinius. And Valentinianus, we were talking before about his temper. He starts getting really angry and he's screaming and he's yelling and he's going berserk. God damn it, fucking Quads, stop! What happens? He drops dead and dies from a brain hemorrhage. And that's the end of the story. That's the end of Valentinianus. Right back where we began. Time is a flat circle. And you know, they call him Valentinianus the Great. But I think if you drop dead from anger issues, you can only be kinda great at best. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. That was our first video of the day. We're going into Budapest to shoot another, churning them out, churning them out, churning them out. Inspiration is everywhere. And thank you ever so much to those of you kind enough to support my work on Patreon. Every day, I'm telling stories on there. Audio stories, myths, folk tales, original stuff that I write. We're taking this operation to the moon, baby, and it's all thanks to you. And over here, we've got Imre's father, Imre's old man, King Steve, Szent István Király, 1,000 years. Wow, that's a long time. America, Kisbaba ország, Magyarország, hosszú történet itt.